Gotta wait for Big Slick to come in.
Is he in yet?
There he is.
There we go. We love you, Big Slick. Always first one in. All right. So got Big East semis. I think we all enjoyed last night's game and could certainly get to some of the takeaways from that game. I think the biggest takeaway was to get rid of the floor cam.
God.
At whatever cost.
It's funny because the Big East has used that before, but it's probably because the configuration's a little different without any fans. It looks so much worse this year. I don't know why.
Yeah, I really felt like I was getting like seasick or something watching it last night.
It's awful. Also, Penfield, yes, I can't see your comments. I'm just not gonna drink hot sauce right now.
Yeah,
sorry.
You got a Coke Zero tonight.
Yeah. I've got water. That's for hydrating in honor of James Book Night.
Yeah, exactly. No sugar in here. That helps. Helps with hydration. So, sorry, Penfield. So let's get into last night's game a bit before we dive into Creighton. Some takeaways there. Obviously, the biggest takeaway was James Bouknight in the full body cramps that we saw in that crazy 20-second clip of him getting carried down the tunnel yesterday. But outside of that, rest of the team looked really impressive last night, and I guess showed how bad Providence really is if they lost to that DePaul team last night.
Yeah, it's almost embarrassing that UConn lost to Providence back at their place, right?
Yeah.
This was, it's embarrassing that UConn struggled to beat DePaul on the road. That was what a game last night. I mean, DePaul had no fight in them, really.
No.
And it's because UConn took it away. And of course, the biggest takeaway, I think, is that Andrew Hurley is now the best shooter in the country, at least by 3-point percentage.
Yeah, he followed by a close second with Richie Springs there. And never in a million years did I think Richie Springs would be entering a Big East tournament game with 8 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, not bad for his second redshirt year.
Yeah. I think, to me, one of the biggest takeaways, granted that they played almost that entire second half there without Bouknight, and I get it's DePaul, but I feel a lot more confident in this team with Bouknight. When Bouknight is not out there, I have confidence in this team still. Early on when they were getting used to life without Bouknight, even midway through towards the end of that stretch, it was kind of like they're screwed without him type thing and just hope to tread water. But now I feel that this team can play well even when James Bouknight isn't out on the court.
Yeah, and this is something that I actually asked Tyrese Martin about last night, because what we had been hearing is that, when Bouknight was out, it gave all the other players like a chance to step up their game a little bit, learn new roles, and to really step up. And they've continued to do that now that Bouknight has returned. And it took me a second to pull up the quote, but I'll read it here. Martin said, most of our players had to step up when he went down. When he came back, we look like a different team. We have weapons all over. We're a bad team when we're stuck just watching him. And I feel like that's what we did before he got injured. Makes me think of the first Creighton game.
Yeah.
Then we had to play without him. We got all our confidence. We added more of a feel for the game. And after that, we're the team that we are now. And I think that sums it up really well.
Yeah, and I see College Hoops Daily here in the chat asking about Bouknight being active, and it does look like he's good to go. Per Jeff Goodman, maybe a minutes restriction tonight, which I don't think is too surprising given what we saw last night. But
he's warming up. He's expected to start.
But yeah, so that's a good sign to see him back. And I know, I felt a lot better when Dan Hurley was out there making jokes about it in the post-game interview with Donnie Marshall last night.
Yeah.
This gave everyone, I think, a big sigh of relief that, maybe he was beat up a bit, but nothing that was going to be, game-changing and keeping him out for a while.
Yeah, and more than anything, I was hoping that it really was just cramps, because that was what the reports we were getting were. but it felt like a lot of that was just assuming.
Yeah.
It seemed like a safe assumption to make just watching him. But given everything that's happened in the last year,
Yeah.
You really wanted to hear it confirmed. And yeah, Dan Hurley made me feel a lot better last night. Apparently, book night was a full go and shoot around today and was fine. So, they'll just have to watch his minutes. I think it's a little concerning that his conditioning isn't where it should be right now. But
it was one thing when he was kind of cramping up in those first couple games back.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a little concerning to see it now, but hopefully they get things under control.
But also Dan Hurley brought up a good point in that book night is not a player who you could tell to conserve his minutes or conserve his energy, I should say.
Yeah.
So, no matter what condition he's in, you're getting 100% effort from him every second. And, in the time that he's been back, we've seen him get knocked to the floor like 3 or 4 times a game. Like, he's not taking a possession off.
Right. And again, I think the big thing is even if, say, he's only playing 25 minutes tonight, I feel pretty confident in that group out there to still be able to compete at a high level with Creighton tonight. And I think one of those guys, and I know you mentioned the quote from him last night when you spoke with him, but I was just really impressed with what Tyrese Martin did yesterday. He really, just across the board, his scoring was back, hit a couple threes, was just a monster on the boards. And again, I've been saying since he's really started to pick things up, he's the player that I really wish they've had for the past few years because he's just a bully on the boards, does a little bit of everything. And I'm excited to see what he can do tonight against Creighton.
Yeah, and this should be a good game for him tonight. I think UConn's at its best when they're getting to the basket with relative ease, and Tyrese Martin is very good at that. And that was a huge part of Book Knight's 40-point game against Creighton that first time around. If the Martin we have tonight is the Martin that we've had since, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, I think UConn's in really good shape.
Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly there too. Another good game out of RJ Cole last night as well. Really took nice control of the game out there.
That.
What was that?
I said I called that in the pregame with my Yankees Yankee guy.
Yeah, good call there. And I think when you look at, I think if we had to look back on that game last night, I can't even remember who I gave as my pregame player last night. But
you said Book. You said
did I say Book Night? All right.
Yeah.
All right. The question here, as I'm just monitoring the chat, is a Cook being hurt the difference between this team and a national title winner? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think they've got enough depth down low this year that it makes up, and I think it kind of helped things out where a Cook coming back, there was no pressure on him to come back and make a huge impact. Anything you get from him, I think, is gravy, and it doesn't seem like you're going to get a lot from here on out, especially as you head towards tournament time and those rotations get tightened up a little bit. But I don't think that's the biggest impact right there.
I will throw a question to you though, because I agree. I don't think a healthy Cook is the difference as much as someone of his caliber could help a team, because as you said, they do have the depth. If there was one piece you could add going into the NCAA tournament, what would it be?
Can I just say Tyler Polley being the DePaul stretch Tyler Polley? Because because I think that's one thing that especially as you look back at UConn the past few years. I mean, Christian Vital was able to do it a bit last year, but they've just desperately, I feel like, need a knockdown shooter that you can really rely on, especially as they're working it more inside with Sonogo, with Whaley doing work down low. If you can have a guy that you can kick it out to, or when Book Knight's taking 2 defenders on, if you can have an open Poly, I think you're able to see that he hit a couple threes last night. I think started to look more comfortable out there. He was even crashing the boards. That's when Tyler Polley is at his best, when he's doing a little bit of everything.
If they could get him to play defense.
Yeah. But I think if I had to say what I'm looking for down the stretch, if they could have someone who could consistently knock down, I'm thinking like a Neil Scafai type guy down the stretch here. And Tyler Polley's shown what he can do from 3. So if he could turn back into that, I think that's big for them going down the stretch. You have any other thoughts on that one?
No, I agree with you. I think a consistent knockdown 3-point shooter is the correct answer. And it doesn't have to be Polly, but Polly's the most
No.
obvious candidate.
Yeah.
It
Cole's
could
look
be
nice
Cole.
from three. Yeah.
Right. I would say it could be Book Night, but Book Night is so much more valuable doing other things that if he can just be a good 3-point shooter and knock down 1 or 2 a game to keep the defense honest, that's all he needs to be able to take the ball to the basket, which is how he's at his best anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. Every time you get a 3 from Book, I kind of feel like it's gravy. I don't think that's like the bread and butter of his game, and I'm not necessarily counting on him to hit every time he's shooting from 3. So with everyone I get there, I think that's it's big. I like this question. What's more important, a Big East tourney title or a Sweet 16 berth? That's a tough one.
I would celebrate a Big East tournament title more, but a Sweet 16 berth would be more important. It says more nationally. It's more money, obviously, in tournament distributions, and it sends more of a signal that UConn is back than winning the conference tournament in a year where the league is kind of down and the best team got knocked out in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I think the Sweet 16 berth is that sign that we're back. I mean, everyone, win the Big East tournament title, everyone will be tweeting out that Dan Hurley, it's coming, get us now because it's coming clip and saying it's here.
If UConn wins tonight and tomorrow, I will be insufferable.
In tonight's, I mean, what UConn's done to Georgetown, and I don't want to be looking ahead too much, it does make tonight seem like it is the Big East championship game.
I don't want to talk like that. I get too superstitious, and also honestly, watching Georgetown these last 2 days, they look like a different team than
they do.
What we played even a week ago.
Agree. So I'll take that back. I'll walk it back a little bit.
Yeah, you undo it.
Undone. It's undone. Let's say tonight is a great semifinal matchup. And I think it's the matchup that everyone was looking forward to heading into this Big East tournament when you saw the way the bracket folded out, especially as UConn was thinking about seeding for the next round, trying to get another quality win there. Mm-hmm. And that's something you could get against Creighton tonight. What are your thoughts on Creighton? Because they've certainly had some ups and downs this year. And what we saw with UConn, basically beating them at Gamble minus a few missed free throws there at the end and playing them pretty tough in Omaha without James Bouknight there.
Yeah. You could look at it like that, where they're a much better team now than they were in that first game, and UConn should have won that. They have Bouknight back, and they could have beaten Creighton without him, or at least they played them really tough. So today, in theory, being the marked version of this UConn team, they should be okay. But, I think I said this yesterday too. I really feel like people are kind of brushing Creighton aside, and listening to what their players have said the last few days, with everything that's happened with Greg McDermott. Mm-hmm. We could have our opinions there. But whatever they are, this team has kind of rallied behind the idea of being written off.
Yeah.
And saying that what happened with McDermott is a distraction. That's, what media have said. So regardless of what we think of that, the fact that the players have rallied around that, the fact that they're a good team, and we know that. I mean, they're what are they, like 10 in Ken Palm right now? Or 12 or whatever.
Yeah, 10. They're 10. Yeah.
Yeah. All of that together makes me really scared. And they still have one of the best players in the conference in Marcus Zagrowski. And he had a very good game last night. And, UConn star Bouknight did not. And Bouknight's health is in question. It's a little frightening. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no, it is going to be interesting. And I'm curious to see what Creighton looks like tonight. And I think early on we should be able to get a good sense of that, because when you look at the past 4 games for Creighton, the 2 games they played against quality teams in Xavier and Villanova, they lost. They've beaten up on Butler twice, which I don't think is the toughest feat there. So I'm going to be curious to see what they look like tonight against, a UConn team that's certainly hungry and really going out there wanting to avenge losing twice to this Creighton team. I think that's going to be an interesting component, because you saw what happened when a Xavier team that was pretty desperate took on this Creighton team. And you saw what Villanova did after Creighton had embarrassed them a couple weeks prior.
Well, you're right, but also on the other side, you're interested to see what UConn looks like against a quality team.
Yeah.
People forget that during this little win streak they had, the only really, really good win was at Seton Hall.
Yeah,
and Seton Hall's bound for the NIT now.
Yeah.
So, UConn's looked fantastic, but they haven't played a team like Creighton and beaten them in a long time.
Yeah, that's a good point there when I take out the blue-colored glasses off and look at it from the other perspective there. I do see we've got something here in the comments about fans, and I would feel so much better about this game if it was a full MSG because, 90-10 UConn fans heading into this one?
It wouldn't be that much.
No?
Creighton fans travel well.
I know that,
there are a ton of them.
Okay, all right, more than I thought.
It would still be overwhelmingly UConn because it's MSG and because it's UConn. But it wouldn't be 90-10. And but I would say if there were a packed MSG, that is definitely advantage UConn, no question.
Yeah. I think again, you mentioned earlier, one of the keys I'm looking for tonight is going to be Marcus Zagrowski because it does seem like the way he goes, the way Creighton goes, and RJ Cole's done a pretty good job locking him up in the games we've seen. So that's probably my key that I'm going to be looking for early on. Anything you're looking for in this game?
That's a good point because, UConn's the best defensive team in the Big East. And that is both in the front court and the back court, in my opinion, at least. And when UConn plays a team like Georgetown, who has an excellent big man, or I guess Seton Hall, you say, okay, well, Isaiah Whaley can handle him. When UConn plays a team with an excellent guard, it's RJ Cole.
Yeah.
And even Bouknight to an extent, too. And Gaffney, it's a team effort, but Cole as the primary. I'm interested to see that matchup as well. And if Zagrowski does get going, what sort of adjustments Dan Hurley has in mind?
Yeah. Another thing I want to see is, I know UConn kind of did a little bit in both matchups against Creighton, and it's where UConn tries to play Creighton's game a little bit, where they'll get into a 3-point shooting contest with them. And I think if UConn's ends up in that type of situation, it's not the best one for this team, just given the way they shoot. I think if UConn's able to kind of play the game they want to play, it obviously a good sign there. Yeah.
UConn has had individual games where they're just lights out from three.
Yeah.
And, maybe they could luck into that if they were to play Creighton's game and win, but I wouldn't bank on it. UConn's a more athletic team. UConn's a stronger team. If they win this game, it's going to be by dictating the tempo, by running actual, half-court sets and getting the ball inside, kicking it out, getting to the basket, and playing their style of game that way. And like they did last night, cleaning up on the offensive glass.
Yeah, that was big. I think there was one point last night where UConn had more rebounds than DePaul had points, which is one of my favorite stats that I saw out there during that game last night.
I love that. Yeah.
Keeping on the glass is going to be big tonight as well. While we're talking about fun from last night, I know we didn't mention earlier. I got to ask you, favorite dunk from last night?
Andre Jackson. Oh wait, no. Oh, but then there was the 360.
Yeah, that's
there was that lob from that we got the shitty angle on that I'm sure was great, but we'll never know. I still think it was Jackson, but there's so many good ones.
My favorite, and I think there was one where he did it. I can't remember. I think he did do it where Andre didn't throw it down in a big fashion, but just kind of, it's almost like a pity dunk. I feel like where he just throw it to him and he just dunks it down, but it's he makes it look so effortless, he doesn't care about it. Those are, I think, one of my favorites when you get one of those, because it's just I'm not going to go.
That's called an Andre layup.
Yeah, exactly. We could get. I see we're getting some questions about some final score predictions. We can get into that in a little bit, but if you want,
don't ask me to predict the final score. I'm nervous.
I am too. You know what? Let me pull out the phone and let's hit up the DraftKings Sportsbook again, because we nailed all those props last night. The only one the only one we missed on was the Bouknight one, and
there's an asterisk there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give ourselves still credit for that because he was on pace.
Big Slick, can you just kind of summarize what Hurley's saying right now? Because I see he's on FS1.
Let's see.
So just like type it in the comments because I'm curious.
Yeah, I am as well. So we'll keep going that. Yeah, no, the fun thing about those props, he looks good, but they will be careful about his minutes. All right.
That might go out the window if there's a close game.
Yeah. I do feel like that's all kind of go based on feel here, but I think at least early on early on in the first half, you at least see him trying to get him some of those, steal him a couple minutes before the media timeouts.
Before the media timeouts, maybe keep him out for like a dead ball after them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm fine with the decision to start him, even though if you do want to put him on minutes restriction, if he's good to go. You don't want to get down in a hole early on. So agree with that there. With the minutes restriction in mind, the over-under on book night points tonight is 20.5.
I'll go on.
That's what I was leaning on, that simply because of the minutes restriction.
But we've seen over, UConn wins the game.
Yeah. What was it? If it goes over?
If book night scores more than that, UConn wins.
Yeah, and I think we've seen some of those stretches too where Book goes immediate timeout, scoring like 8 points in that stretch or what. So it's not out of the question, even if he isn't playing a full game.
Right.
But do lean the under. If we want to go, we've got RJ Cole at 13.5 tonight. I'm feeling it. Yeah, I'm feeling a big RJ Cole game tonight.
Yeah, he's going to have more of a responsibility tonight with book night limited. Although kind of the other side to that, though, is that Cole's going to have to do a lot of extra work defensively.
Yeah, that's a good point on that one. And speaking of defensively, they've got Marcus Zagrowski at 16.5 tonight. I think if RJ Cole and the defense collectively can hold Marcus Zagrowski under 16.5 points, I think that's a big sign for UConn tonight. Yeah,
I'll go over. But I'll say I don't think Zagrowski having, say, a 20-point game is necessarily the end of the road for UConn.
Mm-hmm. Last night, we both liked the over on the RJ Cole assist number, and it's the same number as it was last night at 4.5. And I like that number again tonight on the over.
Yep, over.
In terms of, we'll go with the I like these are fun ones on the points, rebounds, and assists combined. We'll go with Whaley. They have 16 tonight.
Points, rebounds, and assists.
It's a tough because what I'm thinking, like, I mean, if you get like 10 and 6 from Whaley tonight, you're probably pretty happy with that performance.
Yeah. Well, what if you get like 4-4 and he has 8 assists?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I know. If only they could throw steals or blocks in there for him.
I know.
We had another one, and I love that picture. There was a still. Did you see the still of him
before defending that DePaul guy who was smiling?
Yeah.
I would wear a T-shirt of that photo.
Where he knows he's about to pick that guy's pocket.
Yeah.
That was it. And anytime you get like a near half court Isaiah Whaley steal, that's up there on the.
That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
that UConn can do.
And you could tell when you look at him too. Like he seems most satisfied with those two. Like maybe a big block comes first, but when he's doing those at half court, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
They don't have him on just rebounds tonight. They've got Tyrese at over under 7 rebounds.
I'll go under, I guess. That's a close one.
It is, because I think he was right around that number yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. He
lineups were posted and book night is in.
There we go. All right.
Cole, book night, Martin, Whaley, Sonogo.
All right. So no changes there. I think that that gives everyone some good vibes heading into the game. We'll give you the preseason or not preseason, the pregame Yankees Yankee key player of the game. Who do you have tonight?
Tonight it's book night.
All right. I like
he brushes it all off and he goes off.
I mean,
I don't know if it's gonna be another 40, but he's going to go off. And I know I just took him at the under 20. That was like rational, conservative, like basketball mind Russ. This is the fan Russ now.
Yeah. No, I mean, if that's not what March at MSG is all about, Book being carried off by the trainer yesterday through the tunnel,
coming back and dominating.
Yeah. That's what March at MSG is all about.
I agree.
I'll stick with what I said earlier. I'm going with RJ Cole for a big night tonight, and again because of the effort I think he's going to have to do on defense too if UConn wants to win. I know that kind of gets defensive performances are a little underrated there, but I think that's one of the big keys tonight. Again, it's going to be keeping them in check, and RJ Cole's shown what he could do there. So, any final thoughts for us as we head into the semi in about 15 minutes or so here?
Well, I know it's a big game because I'm starting to feel really nauseous.
Yeah, that's why I have the ginger ale out. I know I didn't need to be nervous for DePaul, but it was just like the whole thing. Like first game back in the Garden, Big East tournament.
Last night was excitement. Now, like I feel like I need to go throw up.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time like I was watching a conference tournament game and there's like 12 minutes left in the game, and I'm like, this game is going so slow. Like it was just like, how is this game still going on? Like, how are there still 12 minutes left? They're like up 30 or whatever.
Yeah. It's fun beating bad teams convincingly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say you do not see Andrew Hurley tonight. No sharpshooting from him out there tonight.
If you see Andrew Hurley tonight, then something either went incredibly right or incredibly wrong.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to give a shout out to last night. We got a Josh Carlton dunk last night.
Yeah, he can dunk. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Always surprised when he does that.
It is. So I'm excited to see again what we can do tonight in the semifinal game. And before we wrap up, I also want to give a little shout out to the local teams here in Connecticut that we've got going in their conference tournaments as well. We've got the Hawks of Hartford in the championship game tomorrow. We got Fairfield in their semis tonight. See if they could win tonight and stop Rick Pitino.
Is Fairfield playing right now?
Yeah, I think it started at 8:30.
Okay.
So if you guys are looking for something to watch a little bit before they're down 10. It's almost half. 5 minutes left in the first half, and they've only scored 10 points.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Luckily,
I like Peter's tomorrow though.
I do too. And John Gallagher is a friend of the program, so shout out to him. And go bring it home tomorrow. So we've got a lot of fun stuff happening around here. This is March, so let's ride and enjoy it. And we'll be throwing out some thoughts before or throughout the game tonight on Twitter, and then we'll see what future plans. We won't talk about any of those yet. We'll hold on any announcements. Right, Russ?
Yeah, don't enjoy the game.
Exactly. Enjoy the game, everyone. We'll leave it at that. Enjoy the game, and we'll all talk at some point. So go Huskies, go Connecticut teams this weekend. So we'll talk to you guys later.